Hey guys, this is Jason
This is
Douglas.
Adam MacArthur, voice of Yuji Itadori.
This is Derek Snow, the voice of Shinra Kusakabe.
This is Phil Parsons, voice of Kenny the Ripper Ackerman.
It's Merc Nguyen. You're watching Voice of the Heroes. Take it away, Flea Boy.
What's good, everybody? You already know who it is and what it is. And if you don't, it's the one and only one, Flea Boy Jetson. And if you're tuning in for the first time, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And click that notification bell so you don't miss any interviews or discussions with your favorite heroes and villains from around the world. And you are watching Voice of the Heroes podcast. And today's guest has provided his talent and his voice to so many video games, more video games than I personally even played. And some of them, let's just go over a couple of them. Death Stranding, Guilty Gear, Persona 5 Strikers, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, Yakuza, Like a Dragon, Mafia 3, Days Gone, Titanfall, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Prototype 2, Halo Wars 2. Man, the list goes on and on. Let's welcome David Forseth to the show. How you doing?
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Great to be here.
Hey, so let's start it off, man. Sol Badguy has become the flagship character of Guilty Gear series. Rightfully so. Not only does the character design stand out and is an awesome character, but your charisma brought life to the character and is one of one. How's it been like being the face of Guilty Gears?
It's been interesting. It's been, a huge blessing. And I would say a blessing that just continues to grow and grow and grow, which is fascinating. I did XRD in 2014, and then we recorded this at the height of the COVID, the pandemic shutdown in 2020, which was it was an enormous blessing, especially at that time, because everything had shut down. And there wasn't even any voiceover going on. So monetarily, it was atrocious for actors, all of us, Mm-hmm. And Keith and Valerie Aram at PCB Productions are the ones that direct all the Guilty Gear properties. And so Keith is a really, really smart guy. He's almost like a Renaissance guy. He has a music background. He directs film, television. He's into virtual reality. He does a lot of things. So they just took initiative and bought 4 remote rigs, and then they dropped them off at the actors' respective homes. So that therefore the sound was the same no matter where they were recording or how they were recording. And, if there was a dog barking or if there was neighbors fighting, which there were, we would just pause and then continue. It's funny because the lines, my character will stay down and save me the headache. You're too young to fight me, kid. Let's break something, damn it. And I remember when I was doing that, when I said, you're too young to fight me, kid, I heard my neighbor, because everyone was home, because we're locked down. And I heard my neighbor go, holy shit, dude, I think he's beating his kid. And I was like, wait, what? And I go, we got to pause. And they're like, what? And I go, I think my neighbor thinks I'm beating my kid. They're like, huh? And I go, we got to fucking pause right now. So he was one of those snarky, really just not a neighbor you like. He's very impersonal and wasn't nice. Both of them was a couple. So I knocked on their door and they come with a mask on. They're like, yeah. And I was like, I'm not beating my kid. I'm recording a video game. They're like, mm-hmm. I like video games. I just don't beat my wife and kid. And I'm like, no. I'm recording a video game, dude. Like right now, I like it, And so I went over, took a video of it, showed them the thing. I'm like, this is actually happening. It's a game. I'm recording a game. Like, calm down, Riptide. So that was pretty funny. But it's been interesting. The game just keeps going. We'll do like a downloadable session every few months or so. And all the actors in the property are super cool. You always record individually, so I'm never in the booth with another actor, but they invite us to all their holiday parties. It's very much a Guilty Gear family. I know that term is thrown on very cavalierly these days, but they have definitely treated the actors like a family. So it's been pretty special.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. And fighting games are often like very intense battle cries and dialogues. How did you prepare for the recording for those high energy sessions?
Well, this game's interesting. It's almost in between like anime and cinematic, and where it's a little bit more over the top or brash or gregarious, however you want to phrase that. And in the XRD, Sol was closer to this. And then obviously in the Strive, it's down the road some. So we figured that it was best to add a little bit more gravitas or season, just life to Sol. And then we kind of came up with this guy, And what's great about Sol is that for me, he's incredibly, supremely intelligent. Obviously, he's a rocket scientist, all these different things, but he's also, you know, an atrocious badass if he needs to be in the physical sense. So to me, he really is the personification of Bushido, the way of the samurai, where he's mind, body, and spirit. You know, the samurai have an expression that it is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And Sol Badguy, I think, exemplifies that in every essence or element. So it's a pretty cool character. You know,
I love that.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting that it's been really edifying and humbling for me, because when I go to these events, whatever they may be, for example, I was at a Comic-Con in far way upstate New York, and this young lady drove 5.5 hours each way to meet me in one day. So 11 hours in the car, and she was dressed as Sol Badguy. And she was so nervous and just apprehensive. And that was just like really shocked. Now that was really taken aback by that, you know? So it occurred to me, I prayed about it. I'm like, you know, these guests, these players deserve more than just being a video and signing something. So what I'm doing now, and I'd like to MC these tournaments, like Bruce Buffer meets WWE style, but as Sol Badguy, bring the players up and introduce them. And, you know, so we're starting to do that, because I think that makes a much more memorable, immersive, and unforgettable experience for the player.
If that's pretty dope. So you've been doing that lately?
That's my idea. Because I just thought about, man, that's just, you know, I felt really tacky. Like I'm just signing the thing, and I did a video for her. My manager was next to me, Mike. He's a World Tree Talent, really good guy, veteran, super cerebral. He worked in intelligence for the Army, so very cerebral, smart guy. But I just, it occurred to me, and he was like, "That's a great idea, dude. I think that would be." He goes, "It's out there. Just go get it." You know. So that's what we're working on. Because again, I think it's important to give back and say thank you in a genuine way. You know. And
that's a fantastic idea, and I think that would hit differently, definitely for the fighting community. Having you host a tournament like that, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
You said something about, you know, Guilty Gear is something like an anime. Would you be open to the idea of voicing Sol in a Guilty Gear's anime?
Good question. So they released the anime series on Crunchyroll, and the episode 1 is out, and we're all waiting to get the call to dub it in English. So I'm praying that happens. Like, yeah, we're excited. I mean, 100%, 1,000,000%. Let's get the English version going on that. Yeah, it's on Crunchyroll, and it's gotten a huge, a very positive response for those that have seen it. But you know, with the game, I don't know, as you recall, they released the Japanese version first, and then we did the English dub on it. So I spoke to Evan, you know, we're all praying that will be the phone call coming any day now, that we're going to go dub the English version of the anime series, you know, so that I could do both anime conventions and obviously. So, but it's out on Crunchyroll.
Awesome, man. Yeah. I'll be praying and keeping my fingers crossed for you. That is amazing. What's your favorite line from Sol?
Oh, that's funny. I don't know. I mean, let's break something, damn it. You know, I don't know. He has all these brash, irreverent lines, which also for the hosting is good, because that can bring people up and kind of roast them and, you know, get in their grill a little bit, because Sol would do that, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're too young to fight me, kid. I mean, just all that kind of stuff. It's like when the blaster lines, you know, volcanic tiber, all that stuff.
Which one would you like to hear in the anime if they brought you in? Which one would you like to hear in the anime if they brought you in?
All of them, man. Every single one, bro.
Hey,
the director Valerie she's a delight to work with. Her background is as an actress, a voiceover actress. She and Keith are married, and it's PCB Productions, and they do a lot of stuff. They put me in Black Ops 2. They did Titanfall. Anyways, she directs all of the Guilty Gear stuff, and so my point is, as coming from an acting background and still actively working as an voiceover actress, she directs, and she is so concise and just to the point on what the notes or direction she gives. You immediately get it, and then that translates into the performance. So it makes it very, very easy and really a joyful experience to be a part of that with her and Keith. It's just extraordinary. So very lucky, you know. That's not a common thing.
That's awesome.
They make it really fun and pleasant. Yeah.
Speaking of Titanfall, right? Let's get right into it, man, because you voiced James MacAllan, and I thought that character was so phenomenal. He was something like the narrator, something like your guide through the game. And were there any challenges in bringing that character to life, especially in balancing his military background with his rebellious actions?
Yeah, good question. So that was with Keith. He directed that. And they brought me in. I don't recall what I was doing, but they just said, "Hey, we're doing development on this game. Would you be willing to?" So of course, anything you can do, especially for them because they're so gracious and they've been so good to me. I didn't know what it was, so I went in there and we did. I think I did 3 or 4 characters for them. It was just basically like they were just testing things out, and then they came up with me doing James MacAllan. And yeah, he was a seasoned guy, but he's not too old. He's not as gruff as Sol, but this guy is a grizzled veteran that has seen his fair share of horrific, life-altering, scares of death and battles. So that was pretty cool, man. I have a lot of family in the military. My brother's a retired officer from the Navy. My cousin just retired as Master Chief last year. My cousin is an Army Ranger. He is one of the co-founders of Healing Waters. He was hit by an IED in Iraq. Oh, here comes my cat. Hit by an IED in Iraq in a Humvee. And I think he's had 37 operations. His right arm still functioning, but he took a lot of obviously horrific damage. And through that process, he was the co-founder of Healing Waters, where they raise money and they get these wounded veterans, prosthetic arms or legs or whatever they need. And then they get them on the water in the river and they teach them how to fly fish and incorporate that into and it really helps with the PTSD and gives hope and just, I think, more purpose in their life. So that's good. Anyways, I was able to, just utilize all of that and hopefully bring a whisper of that honesty and truth into James MacAllan. So,
hey, you did an amazing job. That's one of my favorite franchises as far as gaming go. And the moment your character
that launched
sacrifices,
Xbox.
huh?
That game launched Xbox. It was pretty cool.
That was. I'm telling people that was a very, very exclusive game, and even part 2 was so emotional. Man, it made you feel for the actual machine. Like that is a very great franchise, and I would love to see it adapted into a movie or a show. But the moment your character sacrifices himself, right, is a turning point in the game. What was it like recording that scene? And how did you, gravitate? Do you gravitate towards his decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a deep question. The thing about him and with all those tier 1 guys, anyone in the military is about the serves in combat, especially, but those tier 1 guys, which MacAllan is obviously, he would be the equivalent of a Green Beret or a high level Ranger or SEAL. They're selfless, and that they put the mission and everything it's their teammates above all else, and they will sacrifice everything. I mean, obviously themselves, their life, the time with their kids, their wife, they sacrifice it all without a second thought. And that's really, having never served, you can't ever comprehend that or really truly understand it, but that's what those guys do. So I tried to have, I really just, I guess, speak that truth to him. And with Keith and, the direction, I think we got pretty close to it, or I think we did a pretty good job. It's definitely a team effort, as it is in the military. And I remember one of the scenes that pops out is when he lands, boom, and they go, "Oh shit, it's MacAllan!" And I'm like, "Bob!" And we fucking go, And I'm like, "That's this guy. That's this dude. This guy drops in the middle of the worst shit, and then says, 'This way, follow me, let's go.'" And that's James MacAllan.
I love his aura, man. He was a standout in that game for real. And I hope we do get to see your character again sometime in the future, man. They got to do a reboot or some type of remake or something. I would love to see it. Now, recently, right, Respawn Entertainment has previously worked on a Titanfall 3 for approximately like 10 months before canceling the project. Matter of fact, in April, Electronic Arts canceled the game set in the Titanfall universe, codenamed Project I think R7. This project was reportedly in the early stages. It's an extraction shooter developed by Respawn, and the cancellation included laying off about 300 to 400 employees, affecting, everything at Respawn Entertainment. Personally, I hate this decision because I'm such a huge fan, like, I stated earlier. But what do you think about this move? And what do you think could have happened? Was it like not going right? I just don't understand it myself.
I just think it's probably more, I would say it's a conflict of vision. You get too many people saying, no, this, no, that, no, this, no, that. Okay, how about that? Nah, this. And then suddenly, your stew is just a pile of slop, and then everyone's wasted their time and their resources, and it goes nowhere, unfortunately. I think that's probably a big part of it. I've not really spoken to anyone inside, so I can't say I really have no honest, or I would say, insight perspective on that. So it's unfortunate. I mean, it's a great property. Like I think it'd make an incredible movie or TV series, miniseries, man. The original Titanfall. I love that idea, because it's really intriguing, and it was such a cool honor to be, the game that launched Xbox. I mean, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
so hopefully we can launch some other stuff.
It's historic, and speaking of that, right? A lot of studios are going the live action route right now when it comes to video games. You got Sonic, you got Mario, TV show wise, you got Fallout, you got The Last of Us, and they're really hitting different, like critically and with the audience. They're getting like high scores.
Yeah.
What do you think the chances are of a Titanfall, right? Series or TV show, series or a movie? And if so, who would you fan cast as James MacAllan?
Yeah, good question, man. Josh Brolin, I think right now would be a great James MacAllan.
Oh, I like that choice.
Yeah, I like him. I think there's that scene in the second Sicario where they fly over and they just assassinated Benicio del Toro, and it's only his eyes, and he looks, and it has that just ocean of sadness and remorse, and then comes back to when they're calling, and the guy next to him's like, dude, look at me, and then it goes back to his eyes, and he goes, fuck it, puts his head and just starts talking. Like that was a profoundly beautiful piece of acting that he did there. And I think to bring that to, because MacAllan is too, even though he's fierce, he's intense, he's a leader. There's these guys internalize a lot, showing emotion or fear or any form of weakness is not just forbidden. It's almost a willing, like calling to die, and they don't do that. They gotta fight through with their warriors. I think he would be great in that role.
A fantastic answer, man. And if you had a second choice, who would you go with?
Gosh, I never thought about that. David Forseth.
David Forseth. Yeah. Get my guy in there.
They would go with a celebrity for sure. I don't know. Think about that. That's a really good question.
Here's a better question, right? There's been so many other games you've been in, iconic games at that, whether minor roles, big roles, et cetera, et cetera. Would you like to see any of them adapted into a live action?
I would guess right now the first one that would go would be Horizon Zero Dawn. That would be like, the next Avatar as a movie or a series, because it visually, that game is beyond stunning. It is so immersive and beautiful. Every scene is a work of art, visually, and all of it. The directors, the people behind that game were an absolute joy to work with. They're so gracious. That audition process, I got a call back, and it was for a chieftain, a really powerful, fierce chieftain. And so I get to the audition, and they're from Amsterdam. The team flew in, and this guy's name's Jaak, and super cool guy. He's like 6'6", really tall. And he goes, "Okay, you're a powerful warlord, you're a chieftain, and you're kind of at a funeral, so you're speaking to like 5,000 people, So I was like, okay, So I did the speech, basically like getting everybody like, we need to fight. We need to stand our ground. This is the last call, kind of thing. And I did it, and they're like, wow, that was big. And I was like, yeah, I'm, talking to 5,000 people. He's like, well, that was pretty big. Let's go different. So anyways, I did like 4 different takes on that monologue for him. And I guess maybe the direction, I don't know. It just wasn't, it was one of those auditions, you walked your car, and I put my head in my steering wheel, and I was like, I need to quit acting, because this is just, man, I don't know what was going on there, but I was not getting it, I guess. And then I get an email like 2 weeks later, you're booked on Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm like, what? And so then I get there, and they go, yeah, you were so intense and just big and fierce that we really wanted you. We thought, man, we're going to have you play a character like the ruffian in hockey, where he just resolves everything with his fists because he's more brawn than brain. I was like, oh, that's such a nice compliment. They're like, no.
And they actually called you back for another one, right? You played in 2.
Yeah, but that's what they gave me the role in it to it. But as an actor, you never know, dude. Show up, do your best, and even though you're not right for this role, then that, so that's proof that they'll be like, you're not perfect for this, but you're perfect for that. So we're going to cast you for this guy instead. So you never know. And then they brought me back for the second installment because, they're cool, man. Again, the best advice I can give to anybody with whatever it is you're doing, show up early, stay late, and be cool, be kind, be gracious, be of service. Humility and gratitude will take you just a lot of places, but also people will call you back because there's a lot of, there's thousands of really talented actors, but are you easy to work with? Are you a pleasure to be around? That goes a long, long ways, and again, they brought me back and I think I did a few motion capture sessions on that. And they gave me 2 smaller roles as a voice actor as well. So huge,
Oh, I love that.
And that's a massive, massive AAA game. I mean, to be in both is quite an honor,
I'm not even gonna lie. What you said, I'm gonna write on as a quote on Twitter, man. Show up early, leave late, and stay humble and gracious. That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I actually love that, man. I'm gonna apply that to my life.
Thank you. Be of service. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been a bartender for a long time, off and on. When you struggle as an actor, and what makes a really great bartender? Everyone can make a cocktail, craft cocktail, but be a good listener. Be of service, make people feel comfortable, make them feel appreciated and respected, show gratitude for their presence. And a lot of times people like yourself, you're super busy. Maybe they just want to come in and have a drink and just have 15 minutes of solace and maybe get some stuff off their chest and then go home and deal with the respective things, so that time is important for them. So I've learned that. And I guess you can maybe bring that to other elements of being a parent, being a husband, a wife, being a friend, listen, be of service more. I think we need to do more of that in our country.
I love that. I love that. Now, the next questions are pretty much universal. I ask all my guests these questions. We're going to go with the first one. Who are your top 5 fictional characters of all time? You can go to the books, you can go to the TV shows, movies, cartoons, anime, games. Who are your top 5 fictional characters of all time?
Oh my gosh. Fictional, well, so I don't know about fictional, but what made me want to be an actor, number one, was my mom would always take me out in high school my senior year, and we would do a date night once a month. And she taught me how to be a true gentleman. So I would have to open the door for her. I would drive at the restaurant. I would pay with her credit card, of course. I would leave the appropriate tip, thank the server. I would order, all those things. And then we went and saw a movie, and that movie was Amadeus. And when the priest walks into the insane asylum and he goes into the room, and F. Abraham Murray turns and says, "Leave me alone." That man's life went, and I just remember I have goosebumps. I mean, I remember I was in the chair in the theater, and I always felt like it was like a storm, like a hurricane, like a tidal wave came on me. And I thought, man, if I can give a whisper of that to how I feel right now, I want to do that for a living. So Amadeus was really, maybe Tom Hulce as well, that the whole movie it just profoundly affected me. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest could be Jack Nicholson's character was transformational. Just because, it's good to be a little crazy, man. You got to be to be in this business, dude. Honestly, that's what keeps me going, keeps me somehow sane, is being crazy a little bit. I'd say the main character in The Old Man in the Sea. He was an old man who fished alone in a skiff in the Gulf Stream and had gone 84 days now without taking a fish. That's the whole book right there. I read it in high school, and then I revisited it in my early 30s after I'd gone through breakups and been fired from jobs, and it was so much richer because I had failures and had life behind me. And that book was just like, oh, man, perseverance, resilience, humility, grit. That book's incredible. Sorry, I'm rambling. That's a deep question.
I love it. I love it, man. You just taught me something new about a book I never read. And that was your first book, you said, right?
No, I started in high school, and then I just, for some reason, I saw it. I was in Barnes and Noble, and I picked it up, and I started to read it, and I was like, oh, I mean, again, just the opening. A guy, a bartender, a fellow bartender at the time, he was a poet. He's a Division I wrestler, Native American guy, Kirk. He told me about it. That's what it was. And he goes, go buy that book, dude, and revisit it. I think it's going to really resonate with you and, what you go through as an actor, the failure and the hearing no over and over again and not quitting. And I did. So thank you, Kirk, for that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just saw so many books like Shogun, the book Shogun, really affected
How
me.
did you feel about the television series
I
that
thought the
came out on
television
Hulu?
series was remarkable, was incredible. The girl, the lead that won the Emmy, the guy, but because the a repeated thing they say is the Japanese, they have the seven hearts, so the seven different layers, you know. And she was masterful. My God, she was good in that performance because everything was so internal with her eyes and the perfect stiffness and the posture, you know. But everything, it was, yeah, that was a work of art. It was beautiful. That was great. Because fictional, yeah, you're like, I don't know, man. Also,
You can
Cormac
put any
McCarthy.
one of your characters on there, or any character that inspired you.
All the Pretty Horses, Cormac McCarthy. That book was profoundly, you know, again, perseverance, humility, and just endurance. Just don't quit. Have faith in yourself and keep going no matter what the circumstance. Blood Meridian was another book that if you want to read and blow your mind and your heart, your guts out, read Blood Meridian. I got
Hey
Cormac
man, he
McCarthy.
giving y'all some gems, man. He dropping some recommendations for y'all, especially the readers out there for hero villains, man. I might even read one of these. I've been doing a lot of reading myself lately, and
You know, I got sidetracked. I was at a thing in Houston. It's a Texas Showdown, it's called. And I did a panel and they asked me, they go, what's the best way to, you know, enhance your imagination? And I said, read.
oh,
Read. My mom's mother, Helen, was just a voracious reader. My mom will read. She's a speed reader. She'll read like sometimes 2 or 3 novels in a week. Yeah. But her mother, Helen, God rest her soul, she used to call me Davy. She said, Davy, if you want to have a great imagination, if you want to be an actor, the best advice I can give you is to read. Because when you read, you create it for yourself. Film and television does it for you, but read, build your brain, build your universe. You know, you're living a different life every time you read these characters, these books. And so I would just say, read as much as you can. It's great. We don't read as much as we used to. I don't, you know, but reading is the best way to really increase and enhance your imagination, especially your vocabulary, your spelling, but your imagination. If you want to create and do voice acting, read.
I love that, man. Great
Because
advice for everybody out there.
when you get to the booth with video games, especially, you don't know what it is. You'll audition for something. They'll give you it's always a fake title. And so you might know the character or the description, you get there, and then they're like, oh, this is Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, oh, wow, okay, geez, I didn't know that. Because, you know, it could be like Eggshell. And so then also, oftentimes, like, for example, Guilty Gear Strive, they're patched in from Tokyo. So it's a collaboration. So you'll do a few lines, input, feedback, and then hone in exactly how they want that character to go. And then you'll go back and do all those lines again. So my point is, you don't have any of that information. So the more that you read, the more you're prepared to immediately let your imagination, your brain just go wherever it is that it takes you. And then bam, out comes that character, you know?
Oh, I love
that's from your imagination.
Yeah, straight out the gate. And what's dope about it is that you get to create your own type of aura for the character, you know,
Yeah.
with your imagination. You get the process of thinking like what you want it to sound like, how would it sound like. So that's pretty dope. All right, so now let's move on to the Mount Rushmore of voice actors. So you have 4 voice actors. It could be your peers, it could be, you know, legends, it could be somebody who inspired you. What are your top 4 voice actors or GOATs? It depends on how you want to look at it as far as this Mount Rushmore is concerned.
Gene Hackman, Donald Sutherland, Morgan Freeman, of course. Honestly, the most just simple, but Billy Crudup, the way he did those MasterCard commercials, you know, for everything else, there's MasterCard. He was such an honest, like, but I remember, like, if you recall, I mean, you might be a little young for this, but Donald Sutherland had, like, Gene Hackman did Delta Airlines, or was it United? Come Fly the Friendly Skies. But every time you got in the plane, it was all, you know, and then Gene Hackman, Donald Sutherland, but just they had such a powerful
voice.
There was a voice, but also it's such a centered, powerful truth behind it that was immediately made you go, huh? Oh, okay. I believe that. Donald Sutherland used to come to this restaurant I worked at all the time on Tuesdays during the day, and he'd have lunch, and he'd have this beautiful, immaculate, like Hermes or Armani suit. His hair was longer, so you have it, you know, down to and just beautiful, perfect ascot tie. And he'd wear running shoes like New Balances and sneakers, right? With this, and I was cutting limes, getting ready to open the bar. And my roommate was sitting there with the buddy, just happened to be, you know, chilling out. And Donald Sutherland walks up and grabs some limes and was like, and did a sleight of hand magic trick and just walked out. And my buddy was like, "Did Donald Sutherland just do a magic trick for you, bro?" I was like, "I think he did." That was unbelievable. It was a good trick too. Anyways, that was neat because he's one of those actors that just he reached a level, an echelon of truth telling that was unparalleled. Jack Nicholson has been a huge inspiration for me. He doesn't do a lot of voiceover, but just he's such a unique, distinct voice in everything that he does. There's nothing like, I can do like the witches of Ely. Let me ask you a personal question.
I would love to see him do voice acting now that you said that.
Yeah.
I would love to. He hasn't been in any movies in a while, right?
From what I understand, his health has declined pretty drastically. Yeah. So he's getting up there.
Yeah, I haven't even seen him at the Lakers game. Like I didn't see him during the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he's usually like courtside.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a while.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Oh man. But
other actors and let's say Philip Seymour Hoffman, right? Philip Seymour Hoffman was one of my favorite. I think of my generation, probably the greatest American actor.
I'm sorry,
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's no longer with us, but of my generation, I think he's the greatest American actor. He's so he's another guy that if you want to watch a master at work, even when he was in Scent of a Woman, he was a kid in the stage like at the end where the dad's trying to get him out of it.
I didn't see that one. What was the name of it?
Scent of a Woman, but that was when he's first getting started. He was like the brat little shit that was on the stage where Al Pacino's like, and his dad's trying to get him out of it. And he's like, oh, but I remember watching that going, who's this guy? Because it was so honest and it just blasted out of the screen. Like, who's that guy? He's gonna take off. And sure enough, he did. But yeah. Anyway, what was your question?
All right. Are there any lines from any one of your characters that resonated with you on a personal level?
Oh man, off the top of my head, there's so many of them. I like James MacAllan, on me, let's go. Like I think if we all aspire to be that noble leader, the guy that when shit hits the fan, that you're the one they go to that gets everyone through. I think all men have a hope or an aspiration to be a whisper of that. So those lines are pretty cool. I like Sol too, where he's so fierce physically, but he's really super smart, but he doesn't show it off. He's not this visceral $5 word, dropping guy talking about caviar. He's just Sol, yeah. Probably those two characters would be, I've done some weird ones, man. Like the Evil Within. I played the sadist. That was a really disturbing.
Oh, I seen that. The Evil Within that you played the sadist.
Yeah, it was really.
And that was a scary ass game.
Awful. Yeah, it was just. I don't like horror movies, and so doing that game, I got there, and again, I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, I'm playing the sadist, and I didn't remember what the audition was. So, anyways, this guy has like hockey mask, and when the player will look in, he's got like a chainsaw and chases him. And there's no words. It's all guttural, primal, like savage, barbaric sounds and grunts and so forth. And there's one scene where the player peeks in this lower dungeon kind of room, and there's bodies hanging from chains. And I'm hacking this body up with the machete and cutting the pieces off the table into this. I was like, oh my God, that's so awful. But to make it believable and go there, you have to incorporate that
grunts and stuff out.
Your heart, yeah, and sweating, grunting, because it was a loud, violent, and I chased the guy with the chainsaw. But I got in my car when that was done. I was like, I did a spiritual shower, a shot of tequila, because that was horrible. So that was a pretty like unsettling performance for sure. I would say that as far as unsettling or something that just hangs on you for a couple of days, that one really affected me. But the game was they achieved its desired effect. It was creepy as can be, dude.
I remember that one, man. I was playing it with my roommate. This was years ago, and man, we used to just have fun, cut the lights off, play the game, and get little jump scares and all that. Man.
Oh man,
it was pretty dope, man. All right, we're coming to the end of the episode. Shout out to all the heroes and villains that stayed this far. Just keep in mind, we got a PS5 giveaway happening. All you got to do is like, comment, and subscribe on the channel. The more you do so and the more you support at the milestone of 5K, we will announce another PS5 winner. Shout out to the last one, BK Numbers. Thank you for all your support. Now, before we go, are there any upcoming conventions or projects you're able to talk about?
I'm doing one in Michigan in August for sure. What's it called? I think Florida SuperCon is getting back this week. I think I'm going to South Beach in July. I'll be out in Palm Desert this Saturday at let's see. Sorry, it's on my phone. It's MK. It's Murasaki Taco. It's basically out in by Palm Desert. It's not clicking up. It's Murasaki Cafe. It's basically like a boba lounge cosplay event with a gaming lounge. So I'll be there on Saturday doing a Guilty Gear tournament. And then there's one in Michigan, OsakaCon, I think it's called. But yeah, if you just follow me on Instagram at DH4Seth, I update all my stuff because it kind of changes and, you know, people cancel and plans change. But I'll be doing that hopefully a lot more. Arc and Evo have emailed me, said they want to hopefully bring me out. So guys, give me your tournaments. I'll MC it, do a panel, make it unforgettable. I'm also going to be in an animated movie called Immortal. These producers out of Croatia got a hold of me, so we did a couple sessions on that, and that'll be coming out hopefully next year. It's like a really macabre, interesting Greek god stuck in the flesh, set in crime-ridden 1970s New York, Manhattan. So it's a really cool, awesome movie called Immortal. So that'll be coming out. And also I'm in the second thing of Death Stranding installment of that. That's coming out here, I think, this year. So, and you know, you audition daily. So we'll see what happens, man. You just
keep up with updates, man. Follow my guy on Instagram. All links will be provided for you in the description below. This has been a wonderful episode. One more time, let people know where they can follow you at.
DH Forseth on Instagram and David Forseth 1 on X.
And this has been our episode with David Forseth, man. Like I said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And heroes, like always, man, don't forget to love yourself, pass that love on, and love others. And if nobody told you so, just know your boy love you. We're out of here.
Amen. Slash.
Singing with me.